tolerance. I don't really care. I'm playing for first. I'm going with CMC.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Tyler from Aspire Sports, and today I have Dan from DNR Sports. You probably know him over on TikTok. Blowing up right now. You got a lot of good videos. You post a lot of good content as well. So, what's up, dude? How you doing today? And thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate
I'm doing well. Finally, summer's here. Nice day out. I'm glad to be
it.
on. Glad to talk some football.
Absolutely. So it's DNR Sports, right, over on TikTok at
Yeah, yeah.
okay. You also on, just because I'll forget about this at the end. You over on Twitter as well. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I gotta grow the Twitter. It's DNR Sports Dan on Twitter, and then on YouTube it's DNR Sports. I just hit 1,000 subs on there, so that's pretty cool.
Nice. Congrats, dude. Congrats. Gonna
Thanks.
apply for that partnership over there on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I need to hit the watch time hours, but then I will. Yeah.
Well, that was last year I did it. It's easy once you get into the heart of fantasy football season, especially once you hit August. Like it's
Okay.
easy to get that time. Right now, it's tough because there's not a whole lot of people. Not a whole lot of people. Just a lot of your casuals. Sorry, will be
Right.
there. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start talking about a TikTok that you made, and you know I responded to it. Now, I do think that you make some pretty good points in this as well. But you were talking in the TikTok about the number one player. Who should it be? And you said Jonathan Taylor, but it should at least be a discussion. So I just want, obviously, this is a TikTok, YouTube. So you to kind of elaborate on what you were saying in that video.
Yeah, so I basically said that Jonathan Taylor had the worst running back season for an RB1 of all time, which he did, and he did it in 17 games as well, and it was still the worst since Devontae Freeman, I think back in 2015. And the reason for that is just he has very little to no pass catching upside. He had 40 receptions last year, which is fine. But when you compare him to guys like CMC, who's at their best had 470 full point PPR points in one less game than JT. JT had 370, so it's like a massive disparity for ceiling, in my opinion. Now, obviously, there's injury risk with CMC. It really depends on the type of draft you're in. If you're drafting like a 10-man home league or whatever, maybe you want to opt for the safer route with JT. But I draft a lot of best ball. I'm not sure about you, but if you do as well, like there's a lot more upside to winning first place. Like you can win millions of dollars with first place. So I tend to lean with the higher upside players like a CMC. And I also brought up Kamara because Kamara last year had a really tough time. Both his tackles were out for almost the entire end of the season. Jameis Winston played, I believe, 6 games before he went down with the ACL, and he had no receiving help at all. So it was literally Kamara running into an 8-man box every other carry. It was terrible. They used him completely different than they'd ever used him in years previous. And now I think with Jameis there, with an actual receiving core to take some pressure off, and with a healthy O line now, with a new tackle in the draft, I see just a lot of upside here. And I actually went back and looked at it. He averaged 20.2 points per game before Jameis went down, and after Jameis went down, it was only 16.
Hmm.
So, and with all the receiving elements added to, I think there'll be a lot more red zone opportunity, which is what he's made a career off of. Like he's a pass catcher, but he gets a lot of touchdowns.
Right.
Um, yeah,
No, and I think that offense, as long as Jameis is healthy and Michael Thomas, that offense should be better this upcoming season as well. Um, so if you were in redraft, are you going with JT then, or would you go with like CMC for redraft?
Pers- personally, I have like crazy risk tolerance. I don't really care. I'm playing for first. I'm going with CMC, all day.
So there's no interest in any of the wide receivers at one.
Actually, okay, I'll back that up. I do think Cup has a very good argument over JT as well. He finished with 70 more points than JT last year at full
Hmm.
PPR. So, and like when you think about it, everyone's like, "Oh, Cup will probably regress and whatnot," which is true. I have him regressing to about like 16-ish hundred yards and maybe 10 touchdowns compared to I think it's 16 touchdowns last year. So I could definitely see the regression, but you got to expect regression from 1,800 rushing yards too. Like you can't just say
Yeah,
that that's just guaranteed again.
right.
Um, so, and who knows how Matt Ryan will be? I think he's better than Wentz, but people are thinking he's going to be like a check down god. Wentz threw more passes to JT than Philip Rivers did, and Philip Rivers is a check down god.
Right.
So, I still think Naeem Hines is a huge role there. I don't know about you, but Frank Reich was saying that he's going to have a huge third down role again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see too much pass catching upside.
Yeah, I think that Nyheim Hines will still be involved in that offense. And kind of going off of what you said with Cooper Cup as well is that everybody says, well, he's going to regress. Yes, he will. He's not going to have the season he did last year. But like the dude still produces a top 5 wide receiver with Jared Goff. Like he's a good player, a very good
Right.
player in a very good system with now finally a very good quarterback. So you're finally seeing what the full potential is in this offense with him and just Sean McVay as a whole. So I still think he has a really good shot to be possibly the number one player, inside the top 5 in terms of the skill position at the fantasy football this upcoming season. All right, so you are a Packers fan, correct?
Yes, sir.
How, real quick, how good do you think the Packers are going to be this upcoming season? How big of a loss do you think Devontae Adams is? And how many wins is that going to affect the Packers and their overall record?
So personally, I'm a lot more optimistic than most people. I know our win total right now is at 11.5, and we're like I think tied for third on Super Bowl odds. So Vegas is kind of with me here that we're not as downhill as people think. Without Devontae, we've been 8-0. And Aaron Jones takes on like a massive role with no Devontae. So I think we'll find ways to be a more efficient team. We'll have a lot of solid running, and then when Aaron has to throw, it'll be a lot more like play action type stuff. Kind of how the Titans work with Derrick Henry, where it's like extremely
Mm-hmm.
efficient type of scoring with AJ Brown and Ryan Tannehill. Like 2 years ago, that was like crazy efficient.
Right.
So I kind of view that again, and I think we'll get like honestly 13 wins. I think we wiped the division pretty easily because Minnesota is the only competition. They don't have any type of defense. Our defense is on paper the most talented in the league, barring maybe the Saints. Um, so yeah, I think we're probably going to end up being the 1 seed or 2 seed, depending on how the Bucks or Rams do. But playoffs is a different story.
Well, I mean, the NFC is, weak, so they definitely have their shot there. It's going to be tough because I do think, the Rams are still so damn good, and Tampa Bay obviously pretty solid, but they should definitely be right there in the mix of things. You never know. You never know. Maybe this is the year without Devontae that they get it figured out in the playoffs. So, looking at this team in terms of fantasy football. Oops. Gonna pull that up real quick. There we go. So we have Aaron Jones, who's currently I'm looking at Underdog right now. So over on
Yeah.
Underdog, he's currently going as running back 8 or running back 9. I just looked at it today. And then AJ Dillon is currently going as RB25. Now, are you interested in both these guys or one of them? What's your take on the running back position currently for the Packers?
Yeah, so the offense is going to run through Aaron Jones. He's the best player on this offense by a large amount. I know people are in love with Aaron Jones, but sorry, AJ Dillon, but he's not the talent level that Aaron Jones is. I think that we're going to use him a ton in the receiving game because when Devontae's been out in those 8 games I mentioned before, he averages 26 full point PPR and 23 half point PPR points. Like just watching the games, you see they noticeably put him on more types of routes and really use him by the red zone, not in the run game, but like a little dump off. So especially to the left sides, Aaron Jones. I predict there'll be a couple 3 touchdown games for him this year. We'll have some absolutely massive weeks for best ball, which helps a lot. So I don't mind him there. RB9 is like obviously right in the thick of things, so it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of there's not really value, I'd say, but I do like it, especially if AJ Dillon does go down. He basically goes into the CMC role and he just gets everything, and then I
Right.
mean, can't get much better than that. And then as for AJ Dillon, I think he's going. You said RB25, I think around like pick 70 when I've been drafting. I've really
Mm-hmm.
just been taking him um, as usually like my third running back in most best ball drafts. And when he falls, like around like pick 80 to 85. I don't love reaching on 70 just because I like some of the receivers like Juju Smith Schuster in that range and Michael Thomas I'm higher on than most. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What's your take on that?
No, I mean I do like both of them. I think both of them have solid value, especially Aaron Jones in PPR. I think he's going to be like you said. I think he'll be used a lot. And I like AJ Dillon because I do think AJ Dillon is talented. And I kind of look at it, what you were talking about in the sense of AJ Dillon goes down. Well, what if Aaron Jones goes down?
Right.
I think that AJ Dillon would be used a lot. And I also think the Packers have played at a very slow pace. They play at a very
Right.
slow pace. So I could see this upcoming season with really no true alpha wide receiver. that they're a more run heavier team than what they have been in the past and use play action, like you said, a lot, which would benefit this offense. And I could see AJ Dillon having a lot of work on the ground. But I do think both of them, even like for where AJ Dillon's currently going, I do like him there. But I think, Aaron Jones, he's always been my homie for years. Since his rookie year, he's been one of those guys that you're just always drafting. Last year, I drafted in the first round of draft. So I still love Aaron Jones. Talking about the wide receivers, which one do you like here? Now, currently, Christian Watson, he was going ahead of Allen Lazard, but now he's currently going as wide receiver 53 over on Underdog, and Allen Lazard is currently going as wide receiver 45. Are you interested in their receiving game outside of obviously the running backs? Are you interested in these wide receivers? And if so, which one are you interested in? Or even Sammy Watkins, we could say.
Yeah, the only one I've really been drafting pretty consistently is Christian Watson, just because watching the Packers for so long and just seeing how Alan Lazard plays, he's a blocker and a possession catcher. He's not getting you 1,000 yards. Like, he'll be pretty decent in the red zone, I think, but I'll be very, very shocked if he actually gets more than like 800 to 900 yards, just because that's not what he is. Whereas Christian Watson, there's inherent upside with his freak athleticism. Where yes, he could definitely bust as well, but there's just no upside with Lazard. So I have zero Lazard. I have a decent amount of Watson. And then Sammy Watkins, I have some deep in the draft. I am a little concerned that he didn't show up to like any of OTAs, I think.
Oh, he didn't? I didn't
I don't
even
know.
see that.
I don't know what he was doing. He just like didn't show up to, or maybe it was like the non-mandatory minicamp or whatever. I forget the headline, but he just like wasn't there. Matt LaFleur was like, I don't know why he's not here. And now Romeo Dubs is making headlines too, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's good then.
So yeah,
What
so maybe it's Dubs.
what was he? The fifth round? Was he a fifth round draft pick?
Yeah, he was the late one. Yeah.
So gotta keep an eye on that. Another guy that I don't know if it's gonna be Dubs or what's the other one's name?
Amari Rogers.
He was like their 7th round draft pick this year. He went to like Montana or something, then he transferred to Nebraska or Wisconsin. He's somebody that I don't know. We'll see. There's gonna be somebody that's gonna. I don't know if there's gonna be a true alpha. This could definitely be. He spread the ball around a lot, so we'll see what happens. How do you feel about another pass catcher in this offense, Robert Tonyan? Are you interested in him? He's currently going as tight end 14.
Yeah, I've been taking a bunch of him. Really just depends on if he's healthy week 1, but I think he is. He tore his ACL very early in the season.
Yeah.
He in my eyes is he's literally Dawson Knox and Pat Fryermuth in the way that he's like a ball hawk in the red zone. Like he's a great touchdown threat. I mean, he had double-digit TDs the year before he tore his ACL. Dawson Knox barely catches like any passes outside of that, and he's going, I believe, tight end 9 or 10. So I see them as very similar in similar offenses, where he's going to be Rodgers' probably number 1 or number 2 receiving option, depending on how you feel about Aaron Jones or Watson or whoever. Yeah, I like him overall.
And how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? He's currently going as quarterback 13. Do you like him there? Other guys that are going currently around him, I think like Stafford's going as QB 12. Are you interested in Aaron Rodgers there, or rather go a different route?
Yeah, it's really tough to mentally be like, okay, I'm going to take Rodgers with no weapons, because just the eye test just seems like it would be bad, right? But in games where he hasn't had Devontae, he averages like one more fantasy point per game and like
Uh,
more touchdowns, less interceptions. I think like 2 yards less. It's virtually the same, if not a little bit better, because he doesn't focus Devontae so much. Um, so I do see a season where he has a semi lower yardage total, maybe like just over 4,000 yards, but I could see him getting like honestly almost 40 touchdowns just by pure efficiency in the red zone and just like everyone being an option instead of just Devontae. That's kind of how
mhm.
I'm seeing it. So I don't hate him there. But the problem is in best ball, I like to stack so much. So I've only
Right,
really been taking him if I have like Aaron Jones early, then I have Watson and then him or something like that, or Tunyon or whoever.
right,
Um, it's kind of tough when I don't get Jones because then I'm like, do I really want this? If I'm back ending a stack, it's okay. But yeah,
right. No, I agree. It's really Aaron Jones is the stack. I mean, you could say Christian Watson if you whatever wide receiver you like out of those guys. Sammy Watkins does go super late, so if you want to just throw him in the stack too, I mean
yeah,
that's fine. But it's tough, and you are going to have a lot of people out there that are going to be very weary because of Devontae Adams no longer being there and how good is this offense actually going to be. But I still think, Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in terms of just pure talent. And I could definitely see him throwing for once again 40 touchdowns because that's just how good he is. So
Right.
I think it's still well within the realm of possibilities for him. All right, so let's go to the next segment here where we're going to talk about some dark horses. Dark horses who could finish as the RB1, QB1, wide receiver one in fantasy football. And we'll start with the quarterback. So who's a guy that you currently like that, I'm not going to put any limits on it. Just who do you think is a dark horse to finish as the QB1 in fantasy football this year?
You want the absolute QB1 or like a top 3 or, top 5?
You can do what it's
Because
going
I
to
have
be
a
different.
sleeper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, if
yeah.
you want to say that, you can go ahead and say both of them. That's fine.
Okay, because at pick 160, you can get Jameis Winston as like the 18th or whatever quarterback. I love it. Like the O line is set, the receiving core is amazing. If Michael Thomas is healthy, Kamara is going to be a great pass catcher. I don't see how he like doesn't break 45, 4,600 yards. I have a bold prediction that he breaks 5,000 and could potentially lead the league. Um,
Hmm.
I just don't know about like overall QB1 because Josh Allen is just going to be so good in fantasy. That's my only problem with it. But I could see him being top 5 at that crazy discount you can get him at.
Hmm. And who would there be another like a guy that you think could be QB1? So he's going to be the guy that we'll say could finish like inside the top 5. And I do think that's solid value. Where did you say QB 18?
Yeah,
That's
he's
where
like
he's currently
deep in
going.
drafts. Pick 160, you can get him whatever.
Yeah, and he's got good stacking options there as well.
Yeah.
Is there another guy?
Um, Yeah, I'd say Tom Brady going at QB 8 or 9. We just keep disrespecting this man just because he can't run. Like I forget what he finishes last year. It was probably the QB 2 or
I think it
3.
was 3. Yeah.
Yeah, just he had 5,300 yards, over 40 touchdowns, I believe. Like he's just gonna do it again. I mean,
Hmm.
especially if Gronk comes back. I guess that's what we're only really worried about is if Gronk is back and if Godwin's healthy. But they got Gage who can fill in for now, and Mike Evans honestly could get like 18 touchdowns, and I would not be surprised. Like he could have just such a massive year.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I
yeah, give me
always
Brady.
I have every time I go live, I have Mike Evans is like my wide receiver 7 or something. He's right there. And every single
He's my
time
6.
people come in the chat and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Mike Evans so high." And it's like, dude, I don't think people understand that Chris Godwin really could start the season on the pup list. So you have, 6 weeks and kind of like how everybody talks about Brady declining, everybody says the same thing about Mike Evans. So the touchdowns are going to come down finally. And they never do come down. All he does is put up, 10 plus touchdowns every single year. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you have, the greatest quarterback of all time throwing you the football. So I think he's very underrated.
I,
Um
I
Go ahead.
I have a little bit of a thing with Mike Evans. Like because everyone's talking so much about CD Lamb will get more targets and whatnot, with Amari Cooper leaving. So Mike Evans was 4th on his team in targets last year behind Gronk, uh, Godwin, and Brown. I couldn't forget. I couldn't. AB's gone, obviously. Godwin's going to miss probably about 6 games. I mean, it's pretty unlikely. He tore his ACL so late in the season. I'm not sure he
Yeah.
starts. And then Gronk could retire, but even if he doesn't, um, Evans is going to go up in targets. He only had 110 targets last year and
Hmm.
still finished, I believe, 14 touchdowns, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so.
at least double digits. Like, why are we expecting CD Lamb to have such a highest target share? Not saying the same thing for Mike Evans, who's if not getting more of a target share, because CD Lamb was already the number 1 receiver target wise on his team.
Right.
Evans was number 4. So I just have this huge thing with Evans this year. I think he can get like 1,300 yards if his targets increase at all, really. And if anything, his touchdown regression could be positive. He could go up with more.
Yeah, with nobody there. I mean, and that's the
Yeah,
biggest thing is it's going to come down to Godwin's health. I've seen people say that I forget where I saw it. It was probably just a random person on Twitter, but they're looking at Thanksgiving, honestly, for Godwin coming back, which because the big thing with Godwin is that he tore his ACL and then also I think MCL. So it's those injuries take a little bit longer for these guys coming back. And also as a fantasy football community, we try to look at every single injury and just think, oh, the best case scenario. What
yeah,
happens? Not every single guy is Adrian Peterson. Not every single guy is, Cam Akers. What if this injury takes a lot longer? And what if he has to get it scoped out because there's swelling? You never know. So, like, Mike Evans for me is an absolute smash for where he's going. A guy who's been uber consistent throughout his career, no matter who's throwing him the football. I love it. Um, what about running backs? Well, that wasn't even our wide receiver, but what about running backs here? Who is your guy, dark horse to finish as the RB1 overall in fantasy football?
I'll say, I guess if you want to say Kamara or Aaron Jones, because Kamara's going a pick, I believe 22, just because the suspension looming. Obviously, if he doesn't get suspended, I think there's like a very, very real shot. At least top three, is pretty guaranteed if he doesn't miss time. And then Aaron Jones, I'm going to say, um, RB9 right now. We already kind of went over it, but just so much immense receiving upside. 26 points per game, full point PPR. Like he's gonna be the focal point, best player on the team. So Aaron Jones.
Especially in full point PPR too. He's going to
Yeah,
be a stud. In full point PPR, he's
I
going to
know.
be he'll be really good. Wide receivers. Who do you maybe Mike Evans? If there's another guy, throw him out there too. Who do you think is a guy that could finish as the wide receiver one as a dark horse right now in your eyes?
Yeah, I got a ton of Juju this year, just a ton. I think he's 25 years old, attached to the best quarterback in football, and he's the number two option. People are so worried, oh, he's the wide receiver one. He couldn't do it in Pittsburgh. Kelsey is the wide receiver one here. Juju's not going to
Right.
have defenses, trying to defend him.
Hmm.
So I see this as he's my projection for him is about like 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. But I could see another Pittsburgh type season where he had 1,400 yards
Yeah.
already, and I believe it was 9 touchdowns where
Yeah.
he's going 20 spots behind people like DJ Moore or Jalen Waddle, who are either the wide receiver two or with a horrible quarterback. He's 25, the same age as them, and he's tied to like the best situation you could think of in a division where they're going to have to be in shootouts. Like they're
Yeah.
going to have to score a ton of points 6 games of the year,
True.
you know, and obviously other games too. So Juju, I'm extremely high on.
No, and I agree. And the thing that people forget about Juju is that season with Pittsburgh. That was prior to Big Ben when he tore
Yeah,
his elbow up. When he just no longer was the guy after that point. Then he had, Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges throwing the football. He couldn't stay healthy. Now he gets Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in football, one of the best quarterbacks in football throwing the football. So I agree. And he's a really solid red zone target kind of guy too. He's
he is.
big, he can beat up people in the slot. So I agree with that. I think is he the guy that you would want in Kansas City, like outside of Kelsey, obviously? The number one receiving option that you would want in Kansas City then?
Yes, I have so much juju because I think with the other guys, MVS will have his blow up games. I know he's a lot more talented than Miko. Miko is dust in my eyes. I've
Yeah,
never
I'm not
drafted him. I've always thought he's bad.
no interest.
Uh, Sky Moore has like okay upside, but he's going to pick 84, which is like the furthest of the rookies besides London and Burks, who have pretty locked in roles as like they're going to play no matter what.
Yeah.
Whereas Moore, like who knows how Justin Ross is going to do? Like he's been apparently doing really well in mini camps, so there's just a lot of like deep threats on that team. Whereas Juju's just going to man the slot, and he can play X receiver pretty decently. He's done that in his career too.
Hmm.
And the last time he was healthy, like he missed all of last season. The last time he was healthy, he had 900 yards and 9 touchdowns with an aging Big Ben who was awful, and then he blew up in the playoffs. I don't know if you remember that game in the playoffs. He had like
Yeah.
I think it was almost 40 fantasy points. Like he is not dust like people think.
No. I agree. And I think that I don't know what's going to happen. It's always interesting to see what happens when we get to August because so many things are going to change in terms of ADP. And I could definitely see so many people. It's kind of cooled down a lot now, but so many people have been talking up Sky Moore so much, where Sky Moore was shooting up the draft boards, and I really could see in August when a lot more content gets pushed out. And I think a lot more people are going to be very high on Sky Moore and the potential here, where he could definitely shoot up the draft boards as well. And honestly, I do think that Juju is a really solid value for where he's going currently.
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead. You
No,
say
you go.
something?
You go.
All right. So let's go ahead into our last segment here. Where we're just going to talk about real life. We did it. I was talking with Max yesterday. In terms of TikTok, and when did you start on TikTok, and what made you decide? Okay, but I'm going to start posting TikTok content over here on TikTok. Well, when did all that happen?
So I started a year ago. Last summer, I was making mainly YouTube videos and occasional TikTok videos, but I didn't really understand how TikTok worked or the upside that it had. I didn't realize that you could really, really blow up on it compared to YouTube, where it's a lot harder. But I was cranking out
Hmm.
YouTube videos, and then I stopped for the year because I was finishing up college, and then this upcoming spring, I graduated early, so I was like, I mean, I already have a job. I'm working a little bit. Why not just make one TikTok every single night? I started with like I was really into sports betting, so it'd be like hockey picks and NBA picks. Um, and then I started breaking down like news for like the Tyreek Hill trade and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stick to this one or two a day. I'm forcing myself to do it. And then I started this series where I was rating players, and I rated Cooper Cup. It was like I break down route running, speed, all this stuff, like 7 categories, and it was a fun little series. And people like to quantify how good a player is, so that's what kind of made it pop. And all of a sudden, the Cooper Cup video went nuts. I was like, oh my god! So I
Wow.
made literally 20 videos in 2 days.
Jeez.
Just tons of player videos, like breakdowns, because everyone's in the comments like, "Oh, do this guy, do this guy." So I'm like, all right, I'll do them all.
Right.
And there were longer videos, like 2 to 3 minutes, so longer for TikTok. And then I kind of transitioned into more like putting my face on and stuff like that, just showing myself a little bit more. And now we're here. So it's been about 2 months of like I went from 200 followers to I'm at like 35.5K in
Yeah,
two
you
months, I guess.
blew up, dude. I remember I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then all of a sudden, like you're way past me in follower count. I was like, geez, it was nuts. So with your TikToks that you do now, like, because now you do like the ones that you recently came out with, like the greatest player of all time compared to like the most talented. So how do you come up with those ideas? Do you just sit down and like just think of them, or
Yeah.
is that
Yeah, I'll get inspiration occasionally from things like if I'm watching like I don't know, Colin Coward or something say something really stupid. I'm like, all right, I gotta make a video on that or whatever.
right?
But yeah, the greatest of all time. I don't even. Maybe it was like a live stream or something. I don't remember how I thought of it, but I was just like, this is such a common topic. We all think of like who's the GOAT versus. I think it was really Brady Rogers, which made me think about it because I kept making videos about Rogers, the most talented. I'm like, all right, let me just make it for every player. And I just did
Mm-hmm.
defenses yesterday, and it hasn't even been a full day, and it's at like 500,000 views, like over that. I'm like,
Jeez,
whoa.
jeez. And
Yeah,
that's good. So what I do think is kind of popular right now too is like Nico makes the stuff, like he does the top tens. I think today he did defensive tackles, or yesterday he did that. But what I think is really interesting right now is the video part of it. I do think a lot of people, it keeps their attention longer when you have
yeah.
like a clip playing in the background, rather than just you just flat out talking the entire time and just having like a green screen background. So I think that's something that you did in the beginning that was really well done, and I think you continue to do it and just keep you do great things. So keep up the good work, dude.
Thanks.
And what would you say to anybody that's uh wants to test out the waters, but they're unsure right now? They're hesitant to put themselves out there and make a TikTok video and all of that. What would you say to them now?
I would say that definitely do it. Like I've always wanted to do it on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and I didn't realize how big of a platform TikTok really is. There's so much organic growth that you can get on TikTok. So don't be scared to
Absolutely.
put yourself out there. And even if you are, do what I did and don't put your face in it. Just have a video in the background and talk over it. And don't give up. Like the first 10 or whatever, maybe more, could be 100 videos, won't get views, but then there'll be one that gets views. And I would recommend starting with a series, like have some type of series, like you have your series where you guess the favorite team of the followers, which is like amazing. It gets you a ton of organic growth for followers. Like people want to guess their teams, which is like amazing. And then I had my series where I was rating players, and people want their player rated. So
Right.
just come up with some type of series, and that really tends to get people to come back.
No, I agree. I think that's huge. Series are really good right now just because people are able to just go through the videos, especially when you have a playlist, and just go and look at every single one of them. And those people are more inclined to hit that follow button because they see that you're doing that. And like you said, I mean, I grinded for a year on YouTube, and I got to 30, nearly 4,000 subscribers over on YouTube. Now I did take large chunks of the season off and just basically focus on the NFL season. That was when I was in a full-time job. And then over on TikTok, like you said, I'm just making stupid content. I didn't know what I was doing. And one day, one of my videos takes off for almost 1 million views, and I blow up overnight and get, 1,000 followers. Next thing I know, I'm up to 5,000 followers. And it took me, a month to do that compared to YouTube in a full year and not even getting that. So the organic growth, like you said, on TikTok is absolutely nuts right now. So I advise everybody to at least try, um, talk about something that you're passionate about, and just stay consistent. Like you said in the beginning, you're gonna make one or two a day. just do that. Just do 1 or 2 a day for as long as you can do it, and I guarantee one video will blow up. So, anything else before we close out the episode? Been fun.
I'm just excited for football, man. I cannot wait. It feels like it's right around the corner, but we still got 2 months left, so I'm excited to keep drafting.
Absolutely, and this is, in my opinion, like the best time of the year. When you hit August and you get your teams and you're drafting all your teams and you're just ready for week 1, there's no other feeling like that. I love it.
Yep.
It's great. So, well, thank you so much for coming on, Dan. I really appreciate you. As I told the other guys, hopefully you'll come back on. I'm going to do this series, a video a day on YouTube. I got to get back into YouTube. It took a little bit of break, so I'm going to be doing a video every single day like this, and then another video as we get closer to the season. So hopefully you come back on. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. I'm always down to come on, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you to all of you for watching the video. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.